AskReddit asks, what is a good weakness to mention on a job interview?
Being vague. Can you elaborate? Yeah. Edit. Wow. Was having a not so cool day but got here to see I got my first gold. Thanks. Stranger. Now to figure out what it does. Probably.
If you are changing industries. Your biggest weakness is not knowing the industry yet. If you are younger, say inexperience. Anything to show your willingness to learn and develop.
I got my current job after I said this. The interviewer asked me if I had any questions or concerns about the position. I said, I'm a quick and eager learner, but I'll be honest, I have absolutely no experience in this industry, so training me will need to be from the ground up. Will that be an issue?
Depends on the position, but I will sometimes say that I have trouble delegating when I know I can perform a task well. I'd rather just do it myself and know that everything will be done correctly. Edit. Thank you for the various precious medals. I realize this advice can backfire. That's why I said sometimes. There is also a way to phrase this that makes you sound better.
I'm the same way. I'd be afraid to say this in an interview though, because it could be interpreted as not a team player. I wouldn't say I'm not a team player, but I do have a hard time working with a lazy team that does shitty work.
I was asked this during an interview with Uber and I was completely caught off guard. I ended up fumbling and saying something along the lines of, I cannot ride a unicycle, for which I immediately regretted.
I would have burst out laughing at that if I was interviewing you.
Let me guess. The head of Uber's unicycling division was not impressed. If you ever say something stupid because you're nervous, just admit you are nervous.
I once got a job partly because of my honest answer to this. I need to know why I am doing what I'm doing. I don't like being told to do something without an end game in mind. Without knowing the reasoning behind it. When I work, I need something to aim at. Some employers don't like this because they like their employees to be cogs in a machine they control. I don't like those jobs and I don't want them. The place I was applying to was not that kind of workplace. And they liked my answer. Ended up being a great job where my boss valued my input and trusted me to take the reins on a variety of tasks. Edit. Wow. Thanks for the gold and silver. Rip my inbox.
I interviewed a girl once and she said, honestly, cake, I can never say no to it. And #X200B, she was so genuine and the answer struck us all as honestly hilarious. We hate those corporate interview questions too. It was more about finding someone who could answer questions like a real person. And had some sort of personality show through. It's amazing how many people just couldn't answer certain questions. As though they were so nervous to get it wrong they froze up. And #X200B, in another interview.
My boss asked a candidate, tell me about a time you screwed up at work. She thought for a while and said, gosh, I'm sorry.
There are certainly times.
But there's nothing major that comes to mind at the moment. I'll think on it while we do other questions.
That's what we wanted as interviewers, not a perfect answer.
Just people that seemed comfortable and normal, lol.
When I was graduating college, I got interview tips from my dad, who was heavily involved in the hiring process of his company for his department. His advice on this one, which I've used ever since and has gone great, was, the whole, say a weakness that's actually a positive, has been done to death and is such common knowledge that it's no longer a clever trick, and is now seen as avoiding the question. People want to see some self-awareness. Obviously don't bring something absolutely terrible up. But mention a real flaw and most importantly what you've done to address or work with it. For example, the one I tend to use is that I can be forgetful, so I now keep multiple sets of calendars, reminders, notes, etc. to cover as much as possible.
Honesty. I don't think honesty is a weakness. I don't give a fuck what you think.
I need to say this in an interview before I die.
I'm thinking of getting fake interviews just to say it.
For my current job, I said that I had a hard time sharing my ideas with new groups.
You, IDHogger 18.
I said I don't like letting go of unfinished projects during my interviews. I feel like it shows that I'm dedicated to the work I take on. Why do you want to work here? I'd say my greatest weakness is listening.
I take words too literally. Can you give an example? Yes. Dot.
I'm terrible at interviews. Dot.
I'm bad at interviews. I guess I don't do them very often. I have typically stayed at previous jobs for a long time.
The more I think of it, saying this half-joking would get a laugh and show you as overachieving if you had done well in the interviews.
I said this once.
I got
the job.
Let me guess. The head of Uber's unicycling division was not impressed. They've been working okay rickshaws pulled by unicycles. Didn't you know? Dot.
Far from it. Uber is working on self-driving unicycles and they need testers who don't know how to unicycle.
Weak against fire and sharp objects.
Underrated comment.
We'd make pretty bad Pokemon.
Weak to fire, water, electricity, grass, ice, rocks, the ground,
steel,
fighting, poison, flying, falling. If dragons, fairies, ghosts and psychics existed, we'd probably be weak to them too. Some people are even additionally weak to bugs and the dark.
There's nothing that we're actually good at.
Then correct yourself and say use of humor in inappropriate settings.
I used this and got a job. Probably not the swinging moment but said the same. I used the analogy of say we are both in my house. And I leave before you and tell you to lock the door. You can jump in my car and I'll ask if you locked the door and you'll tell me yes. I should trust you, but at the same time it gives me an anxiety that would best be relieved if I went and double-checked or more honestly. Did it myself.
Interviewer. So you think I'd lie about locking your door? Dot.
Great explanation. You can vividly set this up in your mind as you speak.
You have a great wife there. Edit. Thank you for popping my silver cherry. Kind stranger. Dot.
Seriously, dude, do something extra nice for her tonight. Closing parenthesis. Dot. Yeah, I want that wife too. Congrats, dude. Dot. I also choose this man's wife.
My biggest weakness is that sometimes in interviews, I have absolutely no idea how to answer some of the questions. Edit. Thanks for popping my gold cherry. Stranger. Dot. What is your biggest weakness? Interpreting the semantics of a question while ignoring the pragmatics. Could you give an example? Yes. Dot. Terrible handwriting is my biggest weakness. How so? You'll never know what I wrote down. It looks like a blind man wrote. Edit. And thank you everyone who wished me a happy cake day. I keep replying and whatnot, but I'm about to go to work. So here is one big thank you. Also thanks for making it feel like I'm not alone on the bad handwriting thing. I've always been embarrassed about it, but I appreciate you all with horrid handwriting. I don't feel so alone. Closing parenthesis. Dot.
This is mine. And #X200B. I have the penmanship of a doctor. Dot. And clearly this isn't a hospital.
Probably.
That is certainly something I could look into for you.
Possibly.
Or hide. Actual weakness. Taking on jobs by myself. Not taking time to train other people to do them. In the end, I'm usually the guy and find myself feeling burnt out. Probably could be worded better at an interview. But this could sound like you're a go-getter. It might also encourage your employer to find opportunities for you to train other people to do things you particularly don't like doing.
What's your greatest weakness? Finishing other people's sentences. Dot.
Sandwiches.
That's what I was gonna say. Dot.
I've never met someone who thinks so much like me. Dot. Exclamation mark. Quote. Dot.
Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe to support the channel, and above all, have an excellent day, you marvelous people.